All right, I'll get to Trump and the Fifth Amendment. Wasn't that funny yesterday? I mean, was that not a fucking knee slapper? Trump up there saying, I don't know, hundreds of times, I refuse to answer on the grounds that my answer may tend to incriminate me. Oh, my God. Oh, you little shit. Oh, Trump, you little shit, you. Oh, well. Trump. I know. I'm sick of this son of a bitch to the point where I could scream. Matter of fact, I do spend some time screaming. It releases, the tension in my upper chest. Screaming does. Peter Baker has a piece at the Times, and he points out a couple of things. First of all, the whole article here by Baker is about Trump's efforts to politicize the law enforcement system. And the law enforcement system, or his efforts, have now become his shield as he tries to deflect accusations of wrongdoing. He tried to politicize all law enforcement, starting with Comey, who I didn't like, but the very tactics that he used to try to politicize law enforcement, the orange vomit is now screaming is being used against him. Oh, God forbid anything would be used against him, his royal Saint Highness, brother of Jesus H. Christ, right? Oh, my goodness. But 2 days after the 2020 election that the orange vomit refused to admit he lost, his oldest son and namesake, this cokehead, Trump Jr., made an urgent recommendation to Daddy, and it was, quote, fire Ray, end quote. Now, that was a text he sent to his filthy old man, and the cokehead didn't explain in the text why it was necessary to fire Christopher Wray, the FBI director that his old man had appointed 3 years earlier. And the truth is, the cokehead didn't have to. Everyone understood. Christopher Wray, in the view of the Trump crime family and its cult followers, was not personally loyal enough to the now departing scum-sucking president, the orange vomit. Aha! No, we don't have to go back over those horrifying 4 years to know that during his 4 years in the White House, the orange vomit repeatedly tried to turn the nation's law enforcement apparatus into the type of weaponized bureaucracy that dictators use, whether the dictators in Haiti or China or Iran or the Philippines or Russia. It doesn't make any difference. This is what dictators do. Law enforcement, that's mine, and I wield it as a goddamn hammer. And Trump spent 4 years trying to turn law enforcement in this country, as well as the military, into a weapon that only he, the orange vomit, could use at his will against anyone he chose to. So now that the FBI under Christopher Wray has executed that incredibly, unbelievably, unprecedented search warrant at the Winter Palace in Mar-a-Lago, the orange vomit is accusing the nation's justice system of being exactly what he tried to turn it into. Exactly. He's now screeching and farting, this bloated bastard, that law enforcement is a political weapon used against him. Not for him, but against him. Oh my goodness. Now, it's been stated repeatedly, the scum, the vermin that follow Trump would never in a million years believe this, because the Fox sewer and these other online or over-the-air or cable broadcasting outlets have repeated the lie over and over and over again. But there's no evidence that Joe Biden had any role in the investigation. Biden doesn't work for the Christ, why say this? He's not involved in the Justice Department. Yes, it's a branch of the executive branch of government, but Biden doesn't have anything to do with that. Biden's not an investigator. He's not a criminal prosecutor. That's up to Merrick Garland. But try to explain that to the vermin that cluster around Trump, like, as I've said a million times, flies around a dung heap. And Biden has not publicly demanded that the Justice Department lock up the Orange Vomit the way the Orange Vomit publicly demanded that the Justice Department lock up Joe Biden and other Democrats. See, one of the hallmarks, and you know this, of this piece of human waste, Donald Trump, one of the hallmarks of this crybaby son of a bitch is he constantly, the only time he takes his thumb out of his mouth is to scream that he's being persecuted. They're picking on him. Oh my goodness, you baby-faced son of a bitch, you. God, this guy he has no manhood, none whatsoever. He has no self-respect, none whatsoever, and consequently no respect for anything or anybody. He is an egomaniacal son of a bitch who is just out of control. Please die. No, seriously, please. It's very peaceful, I understand. And you'll be in the history books, Mr. Orange Vomit. Maybe not in the way you want to be, but you'll be there. So please, can you just crawl off someplace into a little dark corner and just fucking die, please? Please, you've done so much destruction. You've unleashed so much Christian terrorism. I mean, your job here is done, okay? Please go die. Oh my God, Malloy. Woo! Where was I? Nobody has contradicted the White House statement that Biden was not even informed prior to the search of Mar-a-Lago, much less involved in ordering it. But the Orange Vomit, I mean, that's one of his tactics. He has this history of accusing people of doing what he does and what he would do in the same situation. It's the oldest trick in the book. It's the oldest trick in the book. Just like if you have you have an older brother and you watch him steal cookies out of the cookie jar, and you're a younger sister, and you figure, well, what the hell if he can do it? So you reach in the cookie jar, and your older brother starts screaming, "Mom, sis it in the cookie jar! Sis it in the cookie jar!" That's Trump. That's Trump. Only he's not as mature as the boy screaming, "Sis is in the cookie jar." So anyway, all his efforts to politicize law enforcement and everything about the entire law enforcement system in this country, it's now his shield to try to deflect these accusations of his criminal and filthy, and by criminal, I don't care if it's civil charges or criminal charges, the son of a bitch is a law-breaking bastard. And he asserted that on Monday, when the FBI search began. He was in New York. He wasn't at the Winter Palace, but he was screaming that the FBI search was political persecution. So no surprise, yesterday he made the same claim about the New York State Attorney General's totally unrelated investigation of his corrupt, criminal, rotten business practices. And he, as is his right, invoked the Fifth Amendment to avoid testifying because he knows goddamn good and well that his answers could and would incriminate him and set him up for further charges down the road. This is a criminal son of a bitch whose entire life has been a life of crime. But he's a dancer. You know, he dances along the edge of criminal behavior and always jumps back over the line when he sees that he's being pursued by law enforcement. It's an old trick that the mafia has used since forever. Norman Eisen, who served as special counsel during the first Trump impeachment, he said, quote, Now to flip the script and falsely claim that he's the victim of the exact same tactics that he deploys is just the rankest hypocrisy. But consistency, logic, evidence, truth, those are always the first to go by the board when a democracy comes under assault from within, end quote. And as we know, and I think more and more of us are beginning to understand the degree to which this democracy is under assault. This is not political gamesmanship anymore, folks. It really isn't. You know, I've been ranting and screaming and cursing and yelping and raising hell on this podcast since the Orange Vomit was elected with the minority of the votes. I used to scream about it during the Bush years. I used to scream about it I didn't scream about it during the Reagan years because I was constrained. You know, I worked for very conservative broadcast organizations who just after a while would realize, what the hell did we hire here with Malloy? He's not following the Conservative Party line. Jesus fucking Christ, what's going on here? But ever since Air America, when I was freed up to say whatever I felt like saying, starting in, when was it, 2004. God, I can't believe it was 18 years ago that Air America started, but that's right. That's when it started. So I'm familiar with what goes by the board when democracy comes under assault from within. This country has been under that assault for a very long time. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.